Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, show where we talk about all things gaming, and today we're going to talk about my favourite console of all time, or what I think is the best console of all time. And yeah, we're going to go from there and see how this goes. This is obviously a massive topic for a lot of people. This is kind of a sore point for a lot of people. So what I've done is I've taken out the most of the mainline ones. I'm going to go from there. I may be missing stuff. I don't think so. And we're going to ignore this stuff down here. So there's like all the handheld stuff. There's what I think is either SNK or the other thing. I can't remember what it's called. The Ouya's in this list. PC, which isn't even a console. Yeah, there's a bunch of things here. We're just going to ignore that because that's not really part of the list. What we're looking at is primarily the Sega, the Sony stuff, the Microsoft stuff, and the Nintendo stuff. So nothing is going to go into trash because I don't think any of these consoles are trash. There's only going to be one at the top here, and then S is going to be essentially amazing. And let's change this actually. Amazing. Great. Good. Now these are completely based on my time and my preferences. So obviously this isn't going to be, if you really want to put like the two, like the best selling consoles of all time are like the PS2 and then the 3DS or the DS, whichever one it was, and also the Wii. But that isn't like, may or may not be the top there, but like I want to do things based on like my experience playing these rather than just, hey, this is the best one. So let's start off with something that's near and dear to my heart, the old NES. The NES is going into good. Now, I love the NES, and I love a lot of NES games. But actually, when you break it down, most NES games are pretty pants. There are some good ones. You know, there are some good ports on there, like, you know, you've got Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, obviously the Mario Brothers games. There are good games there, but if you look at the greater library of a NES, and a lot of the games on there, they're kind of not great. Some of them are really hard to go back and play because they're either really short or just not that fun. Obviously, you know, 8-bit, there's a lot of good 8-bit games, there's a lot of good 8-bit platformers, but all in all, the NES being this amazing machine that it was and what it brought home, if you actually go and look at the video game library for it, it's not great. And I've played a lot of NES games. I've played, you know, the Mario Brothers games, I've played Snake, Rattle and Roll, I've played Marble Madness at some point, you know, Ninja Gaiden. There's like a ton of things on there. Fester's Quest, you know, a lot of games, and a lot of them are just a kind of a bit like, they're fun pick up and play games, but going back to a lot of them, less than Mario, it's kind of like, they're very average. There aren't that as many good games on there. There are a good handful of games, but the rest of the library is not amazing and pretty forgettable, to be honest. In that same vein, I believe this is a Master System. I hope this is a Master System I'm picking up. Sega Master System. While it might be a little more powerful, I think, than the NES, the games I've played on it, again, pretty forgettable. Even the Sonic the Hedgehog games on it, there's like one good one, and the rest are a bit kind of meh. It's a weird console, the Master System. Has a lot of character, like I've got the one with the flappy lid on it, has Alex Kidd built in. But in the same vein with the NES, you've got like a handful of good games, and the rest are all pretty unforgettable, so it's a good console for its time, but it is definitely nowhere near being like, you know, this is a must-own or anything. Alright, what do I think? What should we do next? We've done a couple of classic ones. Let's chuck in the... where to go? Alright, so the Sega Saturn. I have never really played on a Sega Saturn. What I've seen of it looks pretty cool, but I also know, again, there are good games on it, but the library isn't massive. I can't, in good conscience, for not really playing it. Like, I know it's a good console. I can't put it any higher than this, just purely based on the fact that I have not played one. It probably shouldn't even be on this list, like, really, but I'm gonna, because it's not a bad console. I'm just gonna put it there. I've just realised, where's the, oh, there it is, there's a Dreamcast. I was like, hang on a minute, we'll stick it there. In the same vein as that, I have very limited experience with an Xbox One. Now, I have played, I can't remember what I played on Xbox One, but the same vein with the Sega Saturn, I haven't really put enough time into either these. In the case of the Sega Saturn, I've never played one. In the case of the Xbox One, I think I've played a game on it, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. But I don't want to just take these consoles off the list completely. These are good consoles, I just can't speak to anything beyond that. Speaking of Microsoft consoles, let's go with the 360. However your feelings are on the 360, the 360 was a pretty amazing console for its time. It had a hugely long lifespan. I had one much later than most people, and it had a lot of games. It had the whole online infrastructure. Really was where it kicked off. It was the leader in the market at that time when it came out. It introduced the 360 pad, which is considered one of the most the most standardized controller now. And one of the most designed. Admittedly, the D-pad is crap on it, but generally speaking, that's how most controllers are designed now, in that kind of style. It's a very solid console, and it's hard to deny that, I mean, look at the difference here. I have a 360, I don't have an Xbox One. I went away after the 360, so I got mine second hand, away from it. I will say, the caveat is this thing had red rings. Which, was awful. They should definitely not have the red rings. But if we take that aside for now and look at just in terms of, a good controller, you had tons of games on it, and it was just a really solid console, all things considered. And it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is a good console. This is definitely worth. If you can pick one up now and a bunch of classic games, like, you got a good console there. Mine's refurbished, so I don't think I have to worry about red rings as well, which is good. So mine shall forever live on. Obviously showing its age now, but like for its time, pretty damn solid. Grab the awful this is the American SNES. This looks crap compared to the European one. It's going in great. SNES, actually no, I'll take it back. SNES is going in amazing. I love my SNES. I have got so many good games on it. Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, Donkey Kong Country on this console. This is by far one of the best consoles ever made, just in terms of games. Say what you want about the design of it, say what you want about the controller. This is a console that had amazing games on it, like fully, just all the time. Like my collection of SNES games, I'm super happy with. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Like I said, the Donkey Kong Country games. We've got Pilot Wings on there. A ton of really solid games, and obviously a massive upgrade from the NES itself. And this is what I'm saying, like, the NES is a good console, the SNES is an amazing console, and a massive difference in terms of like just the quality of the games that were coming out there. Cool Spot, I got that, that's a fun old time. But yeah, really good system, solid, really. I love, I played Super Bomberman on it. I love Bomberman. Played Worms on this thing. I played Worms on just about everything, to be honest. But like, yeah, absolute cracking machine. Like, fantastic little thing it is. Definitely, like, if you've never played a lot of SNES games, there are a lot of good SNES games out there. Yes, they are old now, but they're still really good. We haven't really done anything with PlayStation, have we? Where is the PS3? I think the PlayStation consoles are going to be the ones that people are not happy with my placement on these. PlayStation 3 was a really great console, and I never had one, but I played a ton of fun games on it. The only reason I put it slightly lower than the Xbox 360 is I have a 360. I am not loyalty brand to either of these systems. I just happen to have a 360, and I played a bunch of fun games on it, like Borderlands, Street Fighter 4. What I did play on the PlayStation 3 though was things like Wet and the MotorStorm games and Little Big Planet, which is awesome, by the way. Love Little Big Planet. Uncharted, stuff like that. Really solid games, but I only played the PS3 in short bursts. I never really, because I never owned one, I never really played all these games consistently. If I owned one, it would easily be here, but it's not. The biggest downfall for me is I don't like the PlayStation controllers as much. Something that really annoy me, but that's just personal preference on that one. But yeah, in terms of this console, this is a great console, but it doesn't quite go up into the amazing slot simply based on the fact that it doesn't. Just there's a few things about it that I either didn't spend enough time with it, or the controller's not to my liking, so I can't really put it up there personally. However, the software lineup on this thing is some absolute gems. God of War 3 is also another good game on there. Fantastic. Alright, N64, you are going in good. A lot of people love the N64. I am not one of those people that loves it as much as they do. I love the form factor of it. I love the fact that it's got 4-player built in. There's some really solid games on it, but the N64 also kind of introduced a couple of things into franchises I like. I don't like Mario Kart 64, and I don't like Super Mario 64. Ocarina of Time is not as great as some people say it is. You know, and that's all hardware limitations, to be fair. Those games could be fantastic if they were remade properly on newer hardware. But, yeah, a weird-ass controller, like GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, they're always fun. Perfect Dark more so. There are games I do like on the system, like Smash, obviously. But all in all, it's definitely one of Nintendo's weaker consoles, just crazy-ass controller. Some of the games, obviously, it's early 3D, which makes it, you know, kind of, not so great. But all in all, the N64 had a lot of good ideas and it introduced a lot of good stuff, but there aren't many amazing games on this system, and a lot of the ones that people are like, oh, this isn't this, I'm like, not to my liking, which is unfortunate. I think if I'd had this system growing up, rather than getting it later on, I probably would have enjoyed it more. But as it stands, it is not a system that I think is, you know, amazingly amazing. It's just a very solid system, is the best way to describe that. So yeah, that's probably gonna rub people the wrong way, that one. Alright, what have we got left here? We got Mega Drive. Mega Drive is great. The one thing that holds back the Mega Drive being up there with the SNES for me is the controller. The controller isn't awful, but it isn't amazing either, and it does break really easily. I've only played on the 3-button pads. I've never used a 6-button pad. I cannot speak to those. But my time with the Mega Drive, there are good games on this. You know, obviously the Sonic games. There's plenty of you can say Streets of Rage and Golden Axe, even though those games are not to my liking. I think that's the thing, is there are more games I like on my SNES than I have on my Mega Drive. I've got games like Earthworm Jim 1 and 2 on my Mega Drive, and I love that. But when I think like Super Bomberman, Worms, all these other sort of games I have on my SNES, it's like this. I definitely got more use out of my SNES than my Mega Drive, just because there was just games on there I preferred. But I do love both consoles. I think they're two of the most classic consoles you can get, and two of the best things to come from Sega, and probably the best console to come from Sega, really, and possibly rivaling maybe the Dreamcast, being slightly above that. And yeah, the Mega Drive is a very, very great console. Just minor niggles with it, unfortunately, do not make it, in my opinion, as good as these. By the way, these are not in a specific order. I probably would put the SNES above the 360 because I think that's a better console, but in terms of my personal biases. So, alright, what do we have left here? What to do? You know what? Let's get a Dreamcast. I'm going to put the Dreamcast in amazing. I never had a PS2, which is not surprising in this list. I never really owned much PlayStation stuff, but we were given a Dreamcast. Now, I know that there are a lot of games on the Dreamcast now that don't hold up that well, but there are a few games on the Dreamcast that I played to death. One of those games being Worms World Party. Again, the good thing about the Dreamcast is it's already got 4 controller ports. When I was given it, I had 4 controllers. I got to play things like Gauntlet Legends, Worms World Party, Soul Calibur, a ton of games. A ton of games I got to play. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Marvel vs. Capcom. You know, all kinds of things. Red Dog Superior Firepower. Loads of good games that no one's ever heard of. Some of those games, obviously, I've just mentioned you would have heard of because it was on other platforms. But there was a lot of stuff on the Dreamcast that I loved. And it was in a part of my life where we were luckily given it. And it got a hell of a lot of love from us. It's one of my favourite consoles of all time, probably. The Dreamcast. And because of those reasons, that's why I think it's amazing. Yeah, the controller's a bit wonky. Like, the analog stick doesn't feel amazing on it. The VMUs were kind of cute, the memory cards, but they were just we were lucky enough to have a bunch of good games on the system, which is to why I like it as much as I do. And I think it's a very solid system. And you know, most people had a PlayStation 2 and an Xbox at the time and stuff. But yeah, I was given that. I didn't have any of the newer stuff. And I loved it, and I think for those reasons alone, and the amount of multiplayer I played with my brother, that really kind of solidifies it being up there and is one of the most amazing consoles I've had the pleasure of playing. Even now, I think fondly on the system, even if it's got its issues. You know, I can deal with its issues. Its positives outweigh its negatives, basically. Speaking of, you know what? We'll chuck on the. Oops, not you. We'll get back in there. We'll chuck on the Xbox One, the original Xbox, or what I would like to call the Xbox One, but I don't hate this console. In fact, I actually do like this console. I'm one of those people that likes the big controllers as well. I just haven't played it for so goddamn long. Like a lot of those games I've got on PC now, or I have on my GameCube, or other stuff. Like I have one of these hiding away, and I actually really like the system. I think it's a powerful piece of kit. But it's also, the more I think about it, like I like the design of it, I think it's a little bit forgettable. It didn't have a long lifespan either. I think they went very close onto the 360 after the Xbox. It's a good console. I don't think I remember many of the games that I've got for it. A lot of those games I can get on other systems. I don't even have Halo for it. So there's a lot of stuff on it where it's like, I remember playing Blinks the Time Sweeper, which is at the time very impressive, which was awesomely fun. But like, yeah, it's not a console I remember a huge amount about. Like, I enjoyed it, and I enjoy having it, but I really don't play it that much, so I can't really, in comparison to my 360, which I got to play a lot of good games like Borderlands and other things on that I loved. This console is a little bit forgettable, unfortunately, so that kind of sucks, but I still love it. Alright, what we're nailing down here, what we've got left, we've got PlayStation, Nintendo stuff. Alright, let's do this. The Wii is an amazing console, hands down. It's not, the only reason I wouldn't put it up there at the very top is simply, you know, lacking in power, and simply the control scheme is not always perfect. However, the word gimmick gets used in a lot of times when it's like with motion controls, with gyro controls, with 3D, 6-axis, the Xbox thing, whatever it was, the little bar that you could move around in. Gimmick gets used as a bad word, but you know what? Like, each of these consoles probably has a gimmick that you could put your nail your finger down onto. Like the N64 having built-in 4-player controllers, the PlayStation, the Dreamcast having the VMUs. The Wii's was this weird control scheme that allowed everyone to hold it like a remote and basically play like that. But there are a lot of games that I think get massively overshadowed on the Wii. I love the Wii, like Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, Wario Land Shake It, No More Heroes 1 and 2, Mad World, Metroid Prime 3, especially Metroid Prime 3 and Red Steel 2. They use those control schemes so well. First-person shooters on this console, bloody awesome. There's a lot of good games on there. The problem with the Wii was that they had a ton of shovelware, and there's a lot of games that didn't always implement the controls well. But I will stand by this system being like one of the best things ever made, simply because there are so many great games on it. Like, yeah, even Smash Bros. Brawl, like, fantastic game. Like, so many good memories of it. And the Wii to me is one of those consoles that is just like, I don't really care what anyone thinks about it, whether they think it's underpowered or, excuse me, or whether they just think, oh, you know, crappy casual machine. There are plenty of good games on there that are worth playing. I have so many good memories of this and so much fun stuff where I'm like, you know what? This console is probably one of my favorites, and I still use it as a GameCube. So, yeah, I think it's fantastic. Fantastic console, and probably going to be one of my favourite ones of all time, without doubt. Alright, let's upset some people, shall we? PS2. PS2 is a great console, but the thing was, I've never owned a PS2. I've played a lot of games on a PS2, but I don't have the same feelings towards the PS2 that everyone else seems to do, because obviously it sold really well. And this isn't the same. I'm not sitting here and saying this console is rubbish. What I'm saying is that this is just not something I owned. It's not something I played a lot of, in comparison to a lot of the other things that I do own. You know, I got so much love and time for my Wii and my SNES and the Dreamcast and the 360 because I put so much time into it. I hardly put any time into a PlayStation 2 in comparison. Everyone else I knew had them. You know, they got it for GTA mainly, or like some of the things like Ratchet and Clank, or like whatever exclusives there were on it. And then obviously there's a ton of third-party games as well. So I've played a lot of games on the PS2, but because everyone else had one, I've never had the need to own one, and because of that, it's like it is a great console. It's a very solid console. It's Sony's moneymaker for years. It was still having games made, like FIFA was being made to it for years afterwards, but it's just not something that's near and dear to my heart. I also find the PS2 one of the most blandest looking consoles of all time, but it was designed that way so it would fit into like a bookcase, kind of like the Wii and other things like that. I've never been a big like Sony fanboy or a big Sony like person. So their systems are very good. But the PS2 is that one that I think everybody had, except we didn't have it. We had a Dreamcast at the time, and then from the Dreamcast, I think I got my GameCube, and you know, I never really ever had PlayStation stuff. So that's my thoughts on that. You can get upset with me in the comments if you want. Alright, what we got left here? Okay, I think we're gonna do. So the Switch is a weird one. The Switch kind of goes in this category up here for me, but it also goes here. I think. Oh, that's so tough. I love the Switch. I'm going to put it into amazing. In fact, yeah, we'll leave it there. The Switch is, in my opinion, probably one of the greatest consoles ever made, and simply because its gimmick, if you will, of being able to play on the go and stuff is awesome. There are problems with the system. Joy-Con drift is not good. You know, it does feel slightly underpowered for certain games. But the amount of time and money and just Smash Brothers alone I've put into playing with this device. I've had one since launch day. It has been awesome. Absolutely love it. You know, I'm so happy with my Switch. Like, I know I'm getting to play a bunch of ports I never thought I'd get to play anyway because they were on other systems. But all I can say about the Switch is I think Nintendo made the right step after the Wii U and made a very, very smart choice to combine both the handheld and the console division together to create something that people wanted. Like, it is a smart, sleek piece of kit with so many good games on it. Yes, there are a bunch of ports, but there are so many good games. Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Smash Bros. Ultimate, Animal Crossing. I'm not going to count Pokemon because I don't like it that much, but you know, Doom 2016 works amazingly well on this thing. There are so many good games and so many good ports on here. Like, Nintendo seems to be hitting it out the park with their games, personal games on it, but even the third-party support and the indie support is crazy. Really, really solid machine. Like, definitely one of the best things ever made Nintendo's ever done, and probably going to outsell most of their other systems eventually. So, but that leads me on to PS1. PS1's going to go down here. I actually really like the design of the PS1. It's got such a nostalgic feel to me. The problem with the PS1 is it's got the same problem as the N64. It is early 3D, which means a lot of the games look like arse, and they also play like crap as well. However, that's not always the case. There are some pretty solid games on the PS1. I, for one, like the first 3 Crash Bandicoots, or the first 2. Yeah, visually they don't hold up amazingly, but they're still fun to play. Obviously, Rayman was on it. There are some really good games on the PS1. It's just, again, it's that controller that is not my cup of tea. And it's just early 3D. You know, it's the same thing with N64. That generation was kind of a bit. Going back to it now is kind of tough. It's not amazing, let's say the least. I've got nothing really bad to say about the PlayStation 1 apart from I'm not a fan of the controller, and some of the games look a bit naff. But I've still got nostalgia for this console with things like Pong and Bomberman and Crash. So yeah, it's a really, really cool game, cool system with some really good exclusives on it. Right, that leaves us with these 3. PS4. I'm going to put it next to that. I've played on a PS4. I've played certain games on it. It's the same reason why I can't put it up there. I don't own it. And I've played it and stuff, but like a lot of those games I can put, the exclusives are what makes the PS4. Like now with Xbox and Sony's PlayStation and Nintendo, we're in a time now where the exclusives really kind of, they're the things that matter, because most of the third parties will be on PC or on the other systems, and a lot of the time, yeah, it's just a console that I've played on. I've had fun with it. That's about as far as it goes. I've not really spent any significant time with a PlayStation 4 apart from using it for YouTube or whatever, watching films, because we have one in the house. But I do not have any feelings to it one way or the other. It is a good console. Well, in this case, it is a great console. It is done very, very well. People love it. But for me, I have no feelings on it, basically. I can't put it in good because it's definitely better than good. I can't put it in as amazing or the greatest of all time simply because I just haven't had those kind of experiences with it, you know, and I don't own one. So the PS4 is kind of an anomaly for me, really. Like, but there you go. Right, what are we left with now? The Wii U and the GameCube. Alright, so let's place both of these and then we'll talk about them separately. Let's go in there, and that is going to go there. Start with the Wii U. The Wii U is a system that had a cool idea, was badly marketed, but actually I really like the controller. The screen, I find it bloody comfortable, and I have a fairly good selection of games on the Wii U, of games I like. Splinter Cell Conviction is really fun to play on the Wii U. Obviously the Mario games, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, you know, and some indie games as well. Like, really just a solid system, but Nintendo really shot themselves in the foot with it. Didn't sell very well. There weren't that many first-party games for it. Like, as much as I love the Wii U, it definitely has problems, and it wasn't really the system's fault. It was powerful enough, easily as powerful as a PS3 and an Xbox 360, if not a little bit more. But Nintendo just didn't support it in the right ways, and they made a lot of mistakes. But I like the system. I am a fan of the system. I really I recommend people pick them up now, because there are some really good games on there, though a lot of it is coming to Switch, so get a Switch instead, I guess. But let's talk about the real winner here, the GameCube. Now, this is obviously super divisive, but the reason why I put the GameCube here is because of the memories of the GameCube when I got one. I wanted a GameCube so badly because of Super Smash Bros. Melee. And I was lucky enough to get given to be bought one for my birthday and to be given Smash with it, so we had two controllers. And I absolutely, I was overjoyed when I got my GameCube on my birthday, and I have just fantastic memories with my GameCube. I am one of these people that loves the controller. I still use it when I play Smash Brothers now, even on Switch. I know the GameCube itself doesn't have the most incredible lineup, but most of the games that I own for it, and most of the games that I like, Time Splitters Future Perfect, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Mario Kart Double Dash, just 3 games, for example, that I absolutely love. The console was very focused on couch kind of versus playing co-op and stuff, and that being able to do that with my brother and being able to play a lot of these games was kind of what makes this system have probably the best memories I've ever had of playing games. You know, Mario Power Tennis, Mario Smash Football, Battalion Wars, you know, just to name some games that I absolutely love. Some of those games probably don't hold up as well, but the system itself has always been like a massive part of my life. I mean, I was very lucky to get one for my birthday the year that I got it, and I've, you know, ever since then I've been like always trying to keep on top of Nintendo stuff, especially because, you know, they make Smash and Mario Kart. But it is a system that is very near and dear to my heart. Is it technically the best powered thing? No. Is it got the best controller ever? Probably not. I mean, I find it comfortable. You could argue in this list, right? In this list, you could put the 360 up there easily. You could put the Switch in there. You could put the PS4 and the PS2 in there, I think. And nothing really so much here. But like, I think there are arguments to be made for those consoles to be like the greatest of all time. Obviously, down here in handhelds, you could easily put the 3DS in there as well. Maybe the Game Boy. But for me, I think it's always going to be the GameCube. It's always going to be the sort of the best thing, the console for me that was really giving me the best experiences at the time. I'm not saying I don't get fun out playing my Switch, because I do, but it's a different experience, different time in my life. Back then I didn't, you know, I had more time to just play a ton of games. So there you go. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching this. I know this is probably going to frustrate some people with my placement. Bear in mind, most of this isn't ordered, it's just they're either one of these things. If you enjoyed this video, then hit like. If you want to see more content like this, then hit subscribe. The links for the Facebook and Twitter will be in the description down below. And until next video, I will see you then.